Educar para la vida es amar el mundo, las otras especies y a la naturaleza. Es dejar el mundo en las mejores manos.
Welcome to those who are joining us today. We are with Rita Moyo, who represents the Lotus Development Trust organization, and she will be presenting today all the work that they have been doing in this organization. So I I think we can start. Rita, go
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share what we are doing as Lotus Development Trust of Zimbabwe. So maybe to start with, am I audible? Can you hear me? Okay. Maybe to start, all right. Maybe to start with, since I'm not sure on who is in the room, to start with, I'll introduce myself before I get to what the organization does. So my name is Rita Moyo. I'm the director for Lotus Development Trust. By profession, I'm a social worker and a community development officer. I specialize in grant fundraising for other NGOs in countries like Namibia, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. So that's my background. But on this platform, I'm representing Lotus Development Trust since I am the director. May I please have the next slide? Okay, so as Lotus Development Trust, Lotus, I'm not sure if we all know, Lotus is a flower that rises from the mud. So our motto is from the mud, we make the community rise. That's the basis. Whatsoever circumstance that the community might be facing, we believe in the power of education and the power of empowerment to make sure that everyone rises from whatsoever circumstances that they will be facing. So it's just a motto or a statement that we live by in each and every activity that we implement in the organization. Now the next slide, please. So my presentation, the first thing that I'm going to talk about, I'll introduce what Lotus, what is Lotus? What does Lotus do? I'll also present the pillars that we adhere to as Lotus, what guides our work, what are the themes that we deal with. Then I'll present the practical projects that we have done. And I'll also present the challenges that we faced in those practical projects and what we view as a way forward. And then after that, you get the opportunity to ask questions or to contribute. So who is Lotus Development Trust? Lotus Development Trust was situated in Zimbabwe. If you can see on that map, was situated in the Midlands province, Matabeleland, and Matabeleland North and Matabeleland South. I'm not sure if you are able to see that, but those are the provinces that we work with, or the provinces that we concentrate with. So the background of Lotus Development really started in January 2021. This was due to the disparities that COVID revealed to us. To say in Zimbabwe, this province managed to survive better as compared to this province. So I think the economic imbalances showed us that which province would need attention. So what we did is from the grassroots level, we decided, no, let's do something for our community. let's work with these communities that didn't have access to so many services due to political reasons, economic reasons, but I would talk about that as the presentation goal. So we officially started the organization in January 2021, but from grassroots level and the community activism, we started actually in March 2020 when COVID-19 did hit the country. We look forward advancing our work to other provinces like Mashonaland West, Masvingo, like into the whole country. But at the moment, since we're a new organization, we're only able to cater for only those 3 main provinces. Okay, so what have we done so far, or what are our pillars? We concentrate mainly on sexual reproductive health rights. Why? I think when COVID came, we realized that the shift of the government, the shift of the funding, it all went to trying to deal with the issues that COVID brought by. But the issue now, it was things like sexual reproductive health was ignored. Everyone was on lockdown. During that lockdown, we realized that with so many issues of child marriage, with so many issues of teenage pregnancy, we had so many issues of school dropout, because in Zimbabwe, I think like from March to December, kids didn't go back to school. So during that time, kids didn't have young people didn't have anything to keep them busy. And mostly because we work with the people that are in the rural areas, not everyone have access to internet, not everyone has access to smartphone. So when we realize that gap between a child who is in the rural area and the child that's in the urban area, that's where we decided, no, let's talk about sexual reproductive health rights. So what we do is we teach young girls about their sexual reproductive health rights, because we, like especially in the Midlands, the place where we are targeting, we've realized that there is actually a religious group that believes in marrying off young girls. Let's say a prophet decides, no, I prophesize that you are my wife. These young girls they are married off at the age of 14, 15. We actually had a case in Zimbabwe. I'm not sure if any one of you did read about it, but this child, she was 14 and she got married. And during the time for her to give birth, because she was too young, she actually died on the shrine. Surprisingly enough, we do have law enforcers in these areas, but it's because it's a norm and it's a culture that have lived for so many years. It becomes very challenging for people to deal with that. So what we have done, as you can see on that picture, is some of the community talks that we have had. That's me there. So we go and educate young people about their sexual reproductive health rights, their bodily autonomy, to say, if someone does this to you, that's a violation of your human rights. And we've tried as well to work with the law enforcers, even the religious leaders and the cultural, the traditional leaders, to educate them about sexual reproductive health rights and how it can be a criminal offense. We also have worked with the access to sexual reproductive services. We've done this by getting donations from donors like USAID, who do come provide things like condoms, contraceptives, and also mobile clinics in these communities where these young girls are taught, even ladies, even older women, they also get to access these services without having to walk a distance. Because where community clinics are, they're situated in the, like on the main road. Someone would be living 10 kilometers away from that. So the idea of initiating community clinics, working with other already established NGOs, it helped us to attain that. And then we have a new topic, or let's say a new pillar. We're still in the training process, which is sexual reproductive health rights and climate change. Since most of the people that we work with are young women and women, we are trying to make sure that they also get involved in the issues of climate change. Most of them are in the rural areas. They use firewood. We want to introduce the issue of planting trees, even when we're having our support groups and our community engagement. The idea is to make sure that we introduce the issue of climate change. But so far, the activities that we've done is sexual reproductive health rights and also increasing the upscale of reproductive health rights services. Okay, another pillar that we have or other things that we've worked on is on civic education. Zimbabwe, as it stands as a country, we were facing a lot of issues when it comes to issues of democracy. It has become more or less of a party state. So we've taken an initiative to make sure that, because for us to attain sexual reproductive health rights, the political and the economic stability is very important for us to attain that. So we realized we can't really talk about sexual reproductive health rights without empowering these young people about their civic rights. So we offer civic education. How do we do that? We have, we talk about youth and democracy. We do that through different WhatsApp groups because WhatsApp is a bit affordable here as compared to other forms of social media because there's a certain WhatsApp data bundle that you buy. So for those that can access WhatsApp, we post information on youth and democracy, the importance of youth participation in voting because we are voting, we're having national elections in 2023. So we want the youth that we work with to vote with information, to be educated and make the right choices. We're also working with other civil society organizations. Either they are working with LGBTQI, either they are working with young people, either it's a religious group. We're trying to come together and form a bond where we strengthen each other and each teach each other about civic education. So it's something that we do collaboratively. It's not something that Lotus Development Trust does alone. Okay, so what has been the main challenges? The main challenges have been COVID-19. Having to work around COVID-19, having to work around the regulations, having to meet the people, having to meet the young girls that got pregnant during the pandemic. Some of them were not ready, having to reach them for counseling. It's been one of the challenges that we had to deal with. Also sharing information and making sure that they go for maternal care. Because of COVID-19, it has been one of the challenges that we've faced. And the other main challenge is that for these activities to run, there is a need for funding. So most of the funding has been going to COVID-19 related programs, related projects like vaccinations and all those things. So issues like sexual reproductive health rights or civic education hasn't gotten so much funding. So it makes it difficult to implement some of the projects, but we've been managing with that. We also have the political climate, because when you teach someone about civic education, the ruling party sees as if you are going against them. So it's a little bit of political instability there. And also economic instability. Zimbabwe, we're at a very low economic state at the moment. So it's challenging to get these young people together. Sometimes they'll tell you, I need to go look for food. I need to, to go to the field and plant and do this so that we survive with my family and things like that. Even those that are married at a younger age, they would just opt to stay there because this old man can provide. So that sort of economic dependency on a man makes it very challenging for us to take this young person out of that situation. So the way forward, we have been working on applying for new grants. I think from September till now, there's been more other grants opened other than the COVID-19. We've had the She Decides grant. We have had even a grant by NED on civic education. So we've been applying for so many grants. We're just waiting for the response. The way forward, we are not getting tired, or we are nowhere near getting tired of spreading the education on the targeted pillars, which is the sexual reproductive health rights and the civic education. We believe that just give the education out there, there is one or two people that will utilize that education, because at the end of the day, our aim is to make sure that we become the agents of change through the education that we do offer. The way forward is to build a strong, sorry about the spelling, a strong youth civil society. We want youth to be able to come together and stand for their rights and stand for what they believe in. So how can we do that? We can do that by educating the youth, by equipping the youth with the skills that they need. Okay, so we use education to make sure they rise from the mud, the community that we work with. Those are our contact details. So thank you so much for the opportunity that you have given us to share what we're doing. I'll be taking questions if there is any question.
Okay, Rita, thank you so much for this presentation. And now that we are open to questions, I would like to say that I find the work on sexual and reproductive health particularly interesting because it's not an easy task to do. And as you have mentioned before, it's important to always do it from pedagogical strategies, especially when it's directed to children and young people in general. And I think that this first question that we have concerns to this, and is what have been the biggest challenges or problems for implementing the sexual and reproductive health rights in the school, also taking into account the cultural learning that the young people of the school have.
Okay. So if I hear you correctly, you're asking what has been the biggest challenge in terms of working with sexual reproductive health rights, especially with young people at school, in schools.
Exactly.
Okay. Maybe I'll answer the question in general to say what has been the challenge in working with sexual reproductive health rights issues. Then I'll answer it in terms of how it is a school setting. Since you saw that I will actually go to schools and do these presentations and all that. So I think the main challenge in working with sexual reproductive health rights in general is the cultural background. Because just because we don't concentrate in it's different with urban areas, because people are a little bit more empowered, but because we concentrate with the rural areas, there is a cultural norm to say a girl child, the moment your boob starts coming out, the next thing that you can do for yourself is get yourself a man that can take care of you, a man that can pay a bride price to your parents, who is able to pay enough kettles. So I think the biggest challenge there is dealing with the mindset of these young girls. And surprisingly enough, another challenge is to deal with the service providers. It can be a teacher, it can be a nurse. It does not matter, because we have realized that if I'm 16 years old and I want to go and access contraceptives, so to say, because the state says I can get contraceptives at the age of 16. But how the service provider would treat me is to say, you're already having sex. Who are you having sex with? But at the end of the day, I get pregnant and I do drop out of school. And normally, because we work with people from a specific culture, when you impregnate someone, you kind of need to marry them or to take them in. So at the end of the day, people end up being in the polygamy situation, and the cycle of poverty goes on and on. And also the other challenge with schools, it's like this, especially in Midlands. Most of the school principals or the headmasters are old people, like in age. You find like a 50-year-old running the school. So if you come and you want to introduce the issue of sexual reproductive health rights, it's like you are teaching the girls to be rebellious. You know, because when a young girl is empowered, you can't do anything to her body without her consent. She's empowered in terms of her bodily autonomy. Most teachers were actually reported, you know, when they molest these young girls. The young girls were empowered enough to talk to us, especially during the counseling sessions. You find out that there are so many girls that have been molested or their rights have been violated. So the school doesn't like that. The school. So I think those are some of the challenges that we've faced.
Okay, Tita, and I think that another that how
I can't hear you.
is this better? Hi, is this better?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I was saying that another thing that stands out of a lot from this experience is the phrase both like your rights depend on it, because there is nothing more truthful than this, and more when we are talking about teenagers and young people who have in their hands the future of a fair, respectful, and participatory political life. And the second and last question we have is, what has been the greatest impact that the organization has had on the political interest of young people?
Okay. I think the greatest impact is to get most young people identity documents, because you can't vote if you don't have identity documents. And these young people are in rural areas. So I think the greatest impact that we have had is to get them the identity documents and get them registered to vote. It's not up to us who they're going to vote for, but knowing that they are taking part in the political participation, exercising their democratic rights, I think that is an impact for us. And secondly, to educate young people about what voting is, because I think there has been a distorted idea of what voting is. We have had economic issues to such an extent that people in Zimbabwe were at an extent who are saying either we vote or we don't vote, things don't change. So I think through these projects, we have managed to tell people to say your voice still matters. You vote for whosoever you think would change your life. Your voice is through your political participation. So I think those are the impacts that we've had, but we are still yet to see in the long run, because it's not a project that we started a long time ago. It's just something that we recently launched.
And sorry, thank you so much. And personally, I would like to know if there is maybe a website or social media in which we can follow this work that you have been doing in Zimbabwe. You can
Uh,
share it with us.
yeah, we don't have a website at the moment, but we do have a Facebook page. I think it's I'm not sure if it's not there on those contacts. It's just Lotus Development Trust. I could share it maybe on the email or the link on the email also, but it's Lotus Development Trust.
Okay, you can give it to me later and I will share it, because I think it's something that may interest the people who are watching us. And also, and finally, I would like to know if you have any system for volunteers who want to support those pillars of the organization.
If we have a system,
Volunteers
do we have?
for people who wants to support the organization by being volunteer.
Or volunteers? Okay, it's something that's in our policies, something that we have like in the structures, but because we've just been let me say fully registered for less than a year now, we haven't managed to really put that into place. But most of our volunteers are community members. Let's say a mother decides, okay, when you have a meeting, I'll cook. I'll take my maize from my field and I will cook. So we do have volunteers. We haven't had any international volunteers or any paid volunteers yet, but we hope as funding grows, we'll be able to have a lot of people volunteering.
Well, Rita, thank you so much first for being part of the World Meeting, Educate for Life, and also thank you for assuming the challenges that the pillars of this organization have. I don't know if there's something you would like to add to this presentation, or just say to the people that is with us, who is watching us, maybe.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to me. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share what we're doing to the world, because when we're working in rural areas, it's not as glamorous, as flashy as someone who is where there are cameras and everything. So it's quite interesting to have to share with what we're doing with the rest of the world. So I think it's a good opportunity to share what we're doing. And other than that, we are grateful. Thank you so much for organizing this conference. We're really grateful. When I go back to the village, because I had to come here so that I have stable Wi-Fi. So when I go back, I'll tell them, oh, I told other people about us guys. So.
Well, we also want to express our gratitude for this effort that you did for being with us today, and we hope to see you to meet you again in the future, maybe also with the organization. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
El planeta podría estar considerado una emergencia humanitaria. Las tensiones producidas por el cambio climático, el hambre, las guerras y la pandemia muestran que sus